back to the Fox Robbins Show. This is part 2 of 2 episodes with Peter Karlson, Keeping Up with Technology. Hopefully you've seen part 1. We talked a lot about protecting your business, and we're going to go on to promoting your business technology while you're making best use of up-to-date technology with Peter Karlson, CEO, NewEon Corp. This is the Fox Robbins Show, which is all about developing your very best business ideas. Or if you don't have any ideas,
maybe we can give you a couple.
We'll throw a couple out. I'm Bill Fox, co-host. The other co-host is, a person who is.
You ready for this?
Get this guy. He is vibrating.
I am.
He is cordless. He's portable.
I'm connected to a mic.
And he's intoxicating.
Yeah, that's
Wait a
me.
minute. This is a family show.
Yeah, watch it. Yeah.
It's Coach Robbins.
I don't drink. How could I get so intoxicated?
We've been. I don't know, Coach. We started in 2008.
Is that right?
Yeah, and we did have a short hiatus in there somewhere along the line, but overall we've done 160 shows, or give or take.
Couldn't stand me that long, could you?
Coach, the coach is like opening an encyclopedia. It's crazy, Just throw something on the table and the coach will gobble it up.
I've been there.
Yeah. So back to Peter Karlson. He comes on the show. We've had him on before. He's getting to be a regular with us, and he's always coming on and keeping up with modern technology, because technology is an ever moving, evolving thing, and so we need him back and back and back.
Well, that, and he works cheap too.
We'll work for beer.
He's got in episode. This is episode 2. Episode 1. Peter, you talked about protecting the business, the policies, covering your customer information, employee information, financial information, vital business information, developing an inventory record, and deciding on where are the records and who needs them, and when, and so forth. Also protecting the business with strong passwords, what's called multi-factor authentication.
The most important thing from segment 1, strong passwords.
Strong passwords and multi-factor, which aids in
Absolutely.
small passwords.
Multi-factor
Absolutely critically
authentication.
important.
Yes.
And encryption where it applies.
Yep.
So that's protecting your business. Where does bad stuff come if you're
How do
on
they get
computers,
in? How do they break in?
Email, internet websites,
Yep.
and maybe an external device.
Yep. If you have those, yeah.
Or
Okay.
portable.
All of that's protection for the business.
Yep.
But in this episode number 2, Peter, we're going to talk about your ideas on promoting and expanding the business.
Right.
That's my favorite topic.
Me too.
There you go. not necessarily 100% technology related, but and when you're talking about building your website and building your presence online, every small business owner is faced with this, right? And so and you and I were talking about a business about telling the story, right? Telling the story about the business.
Storytelling is so important.
It is important. It's important about who the business owners are, where they come from, what they do. People
Why they do it.
Why they do it, how they do it. All of those things, I put that under a bucket called compelling content, right? So if you're telling a story and it is compelling, it's not just a one-time thing too. Yes, the about section, yes, that's going to, you can refresh it once in a while, but it's also telling it in an ongoing way.
Yep.
And for one simple reason is the fact that the search engines keep coming back. Right. So if you have a blog, if you have a newsletter, if you have video content, gold. Right.
Golden.
If anything that you can put out there on a regular basis, and a regular basis can be monthly.
Yep.
Could be weekly if you're so inclined.
But it should be regular.
It should be regularly, right? And so if something new happens in your industry, if you're in the pipe fitting business and there's a new this or that, You know what? Tell people about it.
Educate them.
Educate 'em.
your customer and your prospect.
That is compelling,
Right.
right? And most of the time, customers are looking at your website first before they're ever going to buy anything from you.
Absolutely.
Very rarely are they going to go and say, hey, you know what, Cliff, I'm going to buy that from you because
right.
I think you're the best guy.
They don't even pick up the phone. They go to your website first, check
Absolutely.
out things, and then maybe, hopefully,
Maybe.
come to the phone.
And that, to that education point is they're doing their research. They are incredibly well researched when they get to you.
Right.
Right. So whatever you put on your site, the more you put on your site, the more you've essentially taken that sales job and that learning that you have to
Yep.
do. You've just shifted over to your website.
Made
So
it
think about
inbound.
all the all of that. Yeah. Sorry, I use the word inbound and outbound. Inbound is kind of a catchphrase that people use, and there's a book by Brian Halligan and a bunch of other folks that inbound marketing.
Right.
So the guys that started HubSpot.
Yeah.
So they promote this kind of this
Yeah,
inbound
of course,
model.
that's their business.
It is their business, but it does work.
Yeah.
And so inbound marketing is one of those things where if you're building content and you're bringing people to you
Right.
based on this content that you're
Yep.
creating, the reason why I bring up search engines is because search engines, they are visiting your site whether you want them to or not.
Right.
So whatever you're putting up there, if
Yep.
it's good or bad, search engine is going to
still
tell
get
you.
it. Right.
They're going to get it.
Those are you guys need to listen to Peter. If you don't, if you know this already, fine. I don't want to bore you to tears. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're on the internet, somebody's watching you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
And
even worse, not
There's
watching.
there's a humongous, 800-pound gorilla out there, known as Google. King Kong. They're not the only search engine, but by goodness, they're big. But they have a
They're the one to pay attention to.
they have
What are they,
a
90% or
an
something?
unbelievable Peter so-called algorithm, let's say, would be
Yep.
a humongous formula
Yep.
that they apply to looking at people on the website like you, and that makes that algorithm, whatever, if it sees you, it's making judgments.
It is, and it's ever changing too. So that's
Yep.
one of the things that drives marketers crazy, right? So their
It probably
algorithm,
changes daily, probably.
they're tweaking it and tuning it, and so the marketers are trying to game the. There was a bunch of tricks back in the early days where you're trying to fool the search engine
Put the word in there over and over and over.
over and over and over again, right?
Then
And the
they
bottom
dump
line
it.
is, you write the content, you mention the things that you're an expert at.
Tell your story.
Tell your story, and the search engine will be fair to you. And so and if you're telling stories about something you're passionate about and your business, the things that your business sells or does from a services standpoint, and you're telling it in a unique and compelling way, that will get the
Right.
attention. So when people
Also, but Google is not looking strictly to your website. It's looking at your activity on other locations like called social media, like
Sure.
Facebook and Instagram and
And your blog.
all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
it's not just your website.
Right, and it's also looking at the relationship between your website and other sites. So if you're linking to other sites or sites are linking to
They're
you,
linking to you.
that's
really
good.
Important.
That
yeah.
gives you some street cred,
Right.
essentially. And so if you are part of an industry association, you know what? Yeah, make sure that you're linked and they're linked. If you are doing business with other partner companies, you're doing joint press releases, that kind of stuff is gold for search
Absolutely.
engines. And
Absolutely.
so putting that up there, keeping it fresh, keep it compelling. Make sure if you ever change anything on your website, try not to delete anything. What you want to do is redirect.
Right.
And so talk to your webmaster about it, and if you're using one of the online tools, there's an easy way to say, this used to be over here and now it's over here.
Right.
And what you never want to do is have the search engines be lost.
Right.
You don't want them to go to a dead end because that is
Then they dump you.
They ding you for it, right?
Right.
And so actually Google, the 800-pound gorilla, has as much money as they make in advertising money because they're an advertising company.
Of course they are. That's,
right?
how they make that's their business model.
But they give away tons of free information. So Google Webmaster Tools, fantastic resource for knowing what your website looks like. From there, you put the search engine's eyes on, and it will say, "Run it. Tell me how I look as a
Right.
website," and the Google Webmaster Tools will tell you. And so just a couple clicks and just Google it, because the Google Webmaster Tools are free and they're available to any business owner or anybody involved on a website. That is the part that starts the conversation. So you start there. It'll tell you whether you have any bad links, if you have this, you have that,
everything you need to know to fix.
And then obviously, if you want to take it to the next level, which is something paid search, right? So Google, we're going to talk about Google a lot, but Google will allow you to spend money with them. They give you the privilege to spend money with them as well.
They're awfully nice about that.
They really are. Yeah. They'll take your dollars, and what they'll do is, but I'll give you the upside of that is, yes, you're paying them, but you're paying them a pittance for the amount of
what they do for you.
What they do for you. Yeah. So you can spend and you can decide. It's not like everybody pays the same amount. Yeah. You can put budgets in there, and so let me just explain what paid search is.
$100 a week, that's it.
That's what I'm going to spend, right? And so I my website's good. I'm a new business. I don't have a track record, because people always say, how do I become #1 in Google? You can't. That slot's already taken.
Right.
Because if you're going into a field that other people exist in,
they're already there.
They've
been there for 10 years.
So how do you goose the equation in your favor? You pay for it. And so you buy what's known as keywords.
Right.
And so you can say, I want to be #1 for pipe fittings. Okay, well, so you know what? I'm going to see how much it costs for the phrase pipe fitter.
Right.
Okay. And I go on the Google paid search. So the Google's AdWords is essentially the mechanism in which you basically can pay them money to buy keywords. And it's an auction. So today, it was $1 a keyword, or $1 for that word, and maybe tomorrow it's $10, because all of a sudden people said, hey, that's a really popular phrase.
And
it starts.
A gigantic pipe fitting corporation is paying $10 a click.
And so now there's competition.
Right.
And so the beauty of it is there's a bit of a democratization of it, because if you have the money, you can pay for but if you're also looking for other words that other people aren't looking for, so there's a little bit of an art in there too.
There is, yeah.
So you can kind of figure out what you want to sell and how you want to promote yourself. But again, what you get back is incredible reporting. You get actionable results.
Right.
So if you're going to pay,
measurable ROI.
Absolutely. But that being said, you have to be able to, if you're going to pay for a piece of search, you want to make sure that when you pull them to your website, you better have a good call to action.
You bet.
You either sell something right there, contact you right there, whatever that call to action says, make sure they can do it. They're going to go and say, oh, this guy says he's selling pipe fittings, but you know what? He's not selling pipe fittings. He's selling a service to do pipe fittings.
Right.
So they're gone. And you just wasted that $1, $10, whatever you paid for that click, you just wasted it.
And you never had a shot at them.
And so making sure that you can bring them from the journey of getting them to your site and getting to do something, whether that something's buying something or contacting you or doing something, giving you their email address.
Right.
So if people that aren't selling something directly on the web, the currency is personal information, right? So if you can, and this is kind of the philosophy of permission marketing, right? So you can say, I will give you this.
Seth Godin.
Seth Godin, right? Yeah. So if you want to give you a piece of information, I'm gonna give you a piece of content for that piece of information.
I'll give you my email, not my phone number, maybe.
Right. And then we start this conversation. But with that email, then you can develop a relationship. You can say, thanks for giving me your email. I put you on our newsletter. We'll update you when we're doing new things. And that is, for services companies and other companies that aren't selling something directly on the web, that's a great way to use paid search.
That starts you on the road to know, like, trust. That's who's going to do business with
know, like,
people.
trust. That's a great equation.
Yep.
Okay, you're going to switch. You've been talking about inbound.
Inbound. All right.
So we're going to switch to outbound.
Right. So outbound is, and you just mentioned social media. So in a lot of ways, social media becomes one of the outbound channels that you can use, because that means that you're pushing stuff out to the universe. The universe is consuming that, and the most popular one is email marketing, right? Yep. So email marketing, this assumes that you actually have some email addresses to send to, but the idea is understanding how to get those email addresses, communicate with them in a responsible way, because people don't want to be spammed.
Right.
So there's a bit of a contract that happens with the user.
Make it easy to unsubscribe if they.
By the way, I wanted to ask you about email hasn't died.
Not at all. Not at all.
I say, well, what are you talking about? Well, with the websites, with social media, blogs, Twitters. I mean, Snapchats and you'd say, well, there's so much communication going on that email would become obsolete and go away. Has not happened.
It hasn't. What has happened is the thing that is really killing email marketing, to be honest with you, is actually the way Google does their inbox now. So if anybody uses Google for Business, G Suite, or the Gmail accounts, you'll notice these special boxes in your email. So you have promotions and social. Right?
Yep.
And what happens with a lot of email marketing, is they end up in those other tabs.
Going into a different tab, and you don't even look at them.
And some people don't look at them, right? And so a lot of email newsletters now are going right into those tabs. So how you kind of get above that is there's a whole bunch of new email marketing techniques that are much more one-on-one. So they actually look like they come from you personally.
Right.
And the person's reaching out to you much more directly.
Yep.
I'm sending you a specific email about this topic.
Utilizing something like Constant Contact or whatever.
Yeah, and there's ones that the Constant Contacts and the MailChimps and those guys.
Yeah, MailChimp.
Those are great for constantly keeping people up to date. If you're trying to do real sort of email marketing on a one-on-one basis, especially on there's a ton of services out there that are doing much more one-to-one marketing.
Okay, what are some of those?
I know, I'm trying to think of a couple that I can mention here off the top of my head. I'm not coming up with a good name.
Okay.
I'll think of one. But
you don't have to. It'll come up in your head.
Yeah, right. But I'm trying to remember the one we actually use one. I can't remember the name of it now.
But yeah, the one-on-one is going to be much more direct and come directly to your primary.
Yeah, and it's also very personalized in the sense that, hey, I tried to call you last week, and
Hi, Cliff. It's
Right, and we've had a conversation, or we didn't have a conversation. I'm trying to have a conversation.
Right.
The other one is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, you'll see these messages. These are one-on-one messages using LinkedIn, and they're pretty powerful, right? So you'll get a LinkedIn in-mail request, and it'll say, I looked at your profile. I think that we should do business together because of this, and this, and this. And it's clear that they have read your profile and they've actually reached out to you specifically.
They've done some research, right?
Yeah. And so in some cases it's not, but in some cases it is.
You got a better shot.
You have a much better shot. And so the term I was going to use before when Bill was talking about all the different channels is this, they call it kind of omni-channel, but multiple channels. So that when you're putting a message out there, and say it's a newsletter or it's a blog post or whatever it is. Making sure that it's going out on all the channels so that you send the email out, you send a tweet out with a link
Facebook,
that goes
LinkedIn,
back to the post.
Click.
The LinkedIn post goes back to the post, or you can publish it on LinkedIn directly. Every single one of those channels is going to help you drive content or drive traffic back to either your website or whatever mechanism you're using to communicate this. So this is where you're using kind of outbound techniques to actually drive inbound traffic. And so those are critical. And so when we talk about managing those channels, it's critical that you use tools to do that.
Right.
Because one of the things you can do very quickly is be swamped by the number of channels that you can promote. So there's a couple things like Hootsuite and a bunch of other things like that where you'll post a message out, it'll push it out, it'll decide what channels you need to link into and things. And then it'll also format the links properly so that when they come back, they're tracking those links.
Right there,
So everything from the Twitter link to the LinkedIn post, and you can measure it. So managing and measuring the effectiveness of those campaigns.
Can't manage what you don't measure.
There you go. And so I think from a best practices standpoint, those tools help you get your arms around the beast known as inbound and outbound marketing.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
All
So that's where the technology comes into it. So the tools are very helpful.
Yep.
Of course, you've got. I mean, all the audience watching the show, many people are going to say this is all great, but I can't handle it. I can't manage that. I mean, you've got to get outside help.
Yeah. So there's tons of service providers that do this. The email marketing and marketing in general. Most of the general purpose marketing firms and individuals will do email marketing and social media marketing.
Right.
You know, that's become their bread and butter. You know, they probably still do some print and radio and other things, but
Yeah.
the majority of them have facilities to do email marketing. They'll take it over for you as long as they can pick your brain about writing the
They
content.
got to get the content from you because they don't know your business.
Because you're the subject matter expert, but
Right.
if your marketing people are good, what they're doing is they're interviewing you.
Right.
They're finding out what's new.
Yep.
They're finding out about new projects or new customers that you brought on, new and interesting things, and they're interviewing you.
Right.
And they can write it. And so 100% of the marketing folks I know are fantastic writers.
They're excellent.
And they write stories. They post them online, and they are responsible for getting the word out and getting the traffic in.
Right.
And so
That's how you're going to measure them.
right. And set up a set of metrics for you for your marketing.
Absolutely.
So if what's measure what's important, right? So if number of say subscribers is an
Yeah.
important measurement for you,
Then there's one of your,
that's one of your metrics
on
for
your
your marketing
dashboard,
team.
yeah.
How fast is that number going up
Yeah.
on a monthly basis,
Right.
weekly basis, monthly, whatever you
Right.
decide. If Twitter followers is something you care about, okay, that you measure that number.
Yeah, is that going up? Yeah.
Sure. You can have followers on LinkedIn, and you can also have the other things like the likes and things like that, mentions,
Yeah.
retweets, things like that. Those are also sort of sub-measurements of those, but those are also very good tools to say they're doing their job.
right.
I'm paying
That's
them
how
a
you're
fee.
measuring them. Right.
I'm paying them a fee to do that.
Right.
And the results, obviously, the ultimate results is dollars in the door, right? Because if you're not selling more stuff as a result of your marketing, your marketing's not working.
That's right.
So
The goal is to get more revenue.
in a lot of businesses,
How much would you be paying a marketing firm to do that? I mean, that's kind
as a
of
percentage of revenue,
As a way, it's a stupid question, but it's trying to give us an idea. I mean, you got someone's watching our show and
Yeah.
say, I got to have a marketing firm that's going to cost me billions of dollars.
No. I think as a percentage of revenue, I mean, it can be single digits up to as much as 10%, depending on where you are in your
Yeah.
business cycle. Of top line revenue.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good.
But you're paying a salesman.
You're paying a salesman commission, right? So what's the commission? 10, 12, 15%, depending on what it is?
You're going to be in that ballpark plus a
Right.
car and expenses. So
Exactly, right. And so, your salesperson is useless if
Right.
you don't have any marketing. And so those two things need to work hand in hand, right? So
saying
your
that.
Well, that
marketing,
would say if you had have a business of revenue of 100,000, that's that's 10,000 bucks, right?
there you go.
I don't,
And-
give
and-
or take. I mean,
Give or take. And I would say, as earlier stage, if you're starting up, you don't have $10,000 to throw
you
around,
don't-
right?
not part of 100,000. Yeah.
Right, and so you have to look at it as a portion of your spend. And when you're doing your budget for the year and say, look, I'm going to spend this much on equipment, this much on employees, this much on salespeople, this much on marketing. Just come up with a number, whatever the number is comfortable for you. So if it's $1,000, okay, spend $1,000.
I always the question, what percentage of my revenue? There's no magic. Oh, it's always 3%, 5%. There
It's
is
not-
no magic number.
there
You've
isn't.
got to sit down and say, how aggressive do I want to be? What do I believe the potential of spending a little bit more? Because it's an investment like anything else.
That's a bit of a black art because that 1 or 2% change in that spend could result
be
in a 10 to 20 or 30% increase.
Right.
So in some businesses, there's a bit of a tipping point, and so it happens. It happens a lot with, and the other thing is seasonal businesses. So here on the Cape, we have tons of seasonal businesses, right? And so you're not spending money in February. You're spending money during the season or prepping up the season.
Just before season, right?
Right, and or you're not, the better example is you're not spending money in, September, October, and November if you're not open during those months.
Right.
You're trying to prep up for the next season.
Right.
So what you're doing is you may be placing different types of advertising in preparation for people booking trips the next year.
Right, because they're going to be here during the summer, and you're putting your campaign together in February and releasing it in the end of March and preparing for June.
When they're thinking about booking, right? So
And
timing is the
down
other
in
thing about those
October,
dollars. When to spend those dollars,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Don't just,
Got to decide how much and where you're going to spend.
I'd like to emphasize one thing. It's on my mind. Peter has mentioned before many times is you're thinking I'm I'm promoting and I'm selling my business. You're also selling yourself. Is a story. He calls it a story, a backstory. Are you what are you talking about? Well, you're a business owner, but you make things. You make jewelry, or you
Right.
You're an artist.
an artist. I mean, I don't know. Pick an idea, but you're an author on the side, or you help social institute. I don't know. I'm
You're a
searching
veteran.
here.
Whatever it
Instead
is,
of
tell
thinking
the
about
story.
selling that thing
Yep.
that you want to sell, there's talk about yourself, your background, and how the business got started, but what you're doing that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And I think that's part of the story. I met an artist the other day, was a former spine surgeon.
There you go.
That's a cool story,
It
right?
is.
And so you go from being operating on
There's
people's
a
backs,
definite connection.
right?
Really?
The fine motor skills.
Yeah, right.
But it was a compelling story of, I was fascinated to know how the journey, how he got from being a surgeon to being an artist.
Yeah, it was in
And-
his soul.
There you go.
I want you guys to understand, there is a story, tell a story. Today, it's not just advertise. This thing about website and social media, they call it social media because it's social. So be social. Right, Peter?
That's absolutely right.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
And actually, to that point, be social, it's a dialogue. It's not just you blasting
It's
stuff
not
out.
it's not spray and pray. It's a dialogue. It's
So
a connection.
If
and
people are
it's a
connecting
two-way
with
street.
you,
Right.
thank them for following you.
Yep.
If they comment on something, just tell them thank you for commenting, or if they're asking a question, make sure you answer the question in a timely manner,
Maybe ask them a question.
and put it back
And
to
they
them.
come back with an
And all of a
answer.
sudden, you're building a dialogue with your constituents.
Right.
We're gonna end this episode, Peter. We're gonna have to have you back. Can we afford him? Can we get him?
Let me
back?
check the budget. Yeah, we can afford him. He works for free.
Peter, thanks for being
Thanks,
on Fox
guys.
Robbins.
Great being here.
As usual, this has been a show about keeping up with technology with Peter Karlson. Episode A and B or 1 and 2. Look for it on YouTube. Go to YouTube and in the search box at the top, just put in one single word, Fox Robbins, FOXROBBINS, and click and go to a library of past Fox Robbins shows, including shows with Peter Karlson.
You bet.
And thank you again for watching. If you had a comment, we do have a Gmail, foxrobbins@gmail.com. Send us a message if you would like, and we will see you next time.